Welcome to the Exponential Potential Podcast. Ignite your potential and thrive in times of great change with your hosts, Jennifer Evans and Claire Oatway. Join us and feel uplifted and inspired as we share with you powerful and insightful stories, top tips and tools with our expert guests on an array of topics covering all aspects of life and business, designed to ignite your potential and help you thrive in times of great change.
Hello.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm good, Claire. How are you?
Oh, always sunny.
Yeah, it's a lovely sunny, not to make you jealous or anything, but it's a lovely, beautiful sunny day here in Italy today. It isn't always. It isn't always. We had a really wet November, but it's gorgeous. I love the way we start our episodes with the weather.
Yeah, you can take the girl out of England, but you can't.
Yeah, it's a massive conversation, isn't it, in the UK? It's always what the weather.
Oh dear.
But you know what's interesting? People do talk about the weather here because it's really where I am is really rural and very farm orientated. So they focus on the weather not because they want to complain about it, but they're talking about the weather in terms of their crops and their livelihood. So it's an important conversation here. But they also, in Italy, they also talk a lot about the weather.
Different meaning.
Anyway,
that's all cool. That's all cool. So listen, I had so much fun last week talking about presence and talking about kind of just tuning in, and so yeah, I can tune into sunshine whenever I want.
Yes, yeah, exactly. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then this week we said that we would talk about knowing what you really want and how that shows up. So we've created the space to explore that. But how do you know what you really want?
What you really, really want. Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because as you grow up, we if we've got parents that are quite influential with us, I think that's a big place. That's a good place in terms to start of what we think we want. A lot of it is put on by our parents and society, isn't it? To be successful, and I remember growing up, not so much my mum, but my dad always said to me, always focused on money. Having a job that's going to earn you money, that's going to earn you a lot of money.
Yeah.
That was always my focus. And I remember when I first started looking for work, I mean, I studied to be, I went to dance and drama school full time. I was on stage from the age of 3 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. And I loved that. And my passion was acting. Dancing was my second passion, but my real passion was I loved acting because I was also such a drama queen. But and the reason I didn't go for that because it wasn't secure enough. Despite all the money mum and dad spent on my education in a private dance stage school, I didn't go for it. I studied for 7 years to be on stage, to sing, to dance, to act. And I didn't want to move into London, working in a bedsit and working as a waitress, trying to make ends meet. So instead, I ended up in the IT industry. Because and also underneath the acting, as I've always had healing hands. I used to take my mum's migraines away when I was very young, so healing and massage and things like that were always innate within me. But yeah, I chose the IT industry in sales because that's where I would make the IT industry. And the reason I went for that is because the IT industry was one of the highest paying industries and sales is a highest paying position.
There you go.
And it was a huge amount of fun at the time. It was work hard, play hard. We were all, I was in my early 20s. Yeah. But that's what I my goals were to be. I had very specific goals. At 25, I wanted to be a sales manager. By the time I was 30, at the very latest, I wanted to be a director. So I had very specific goals. And I loved the industry for, I was actually in the industry for 15 years. But it comes to a point where it became really unfulfilling.
Yeah.
And but it's interesting, isn't it?
Well, because you've moved and you've grown, and what you wanted at that age is, it changes.
Yes. Yeah. Was that the same for you as well, Claire? Did you find that you were drawn into something that was high, that was better paid than something that you were really passionate about?
To be honest, I didn't really know what I wanted to, what I wanted to be, what I wanted to do, and had followed kind of the path that unravelled in front of me. So I moved away from Plymouth and moved back to Plymouth, and local government here is quite flip-flops, reds and blues, fighting all the time and taking power and not taking power. So the organisation would always be in flux and would always be changing. There'd be another restructure, and it's like, I'll go for that one. I'll go for that one. I go for that one. And you kind of unconsciously walk through. If I look, it looks like it looks like I'm cutthroat, really ambitious. Go here. It was being in the right place at the right time, but certainly led to some very senior positions. And sometimes you look around and go, well, how did I get here? But definitely enjoyed many of the trappings, as it were. Yes, but also kind of just thought, this isn't quite where I am. It's not aligned. Yeah.
And did you feel that it came to, you weren't fulfilled anymore?
Yeah, but it came through as frustration a lot at times. So frustrated. I remember I'd spent 2 days writing a letter to the head of the US Coast Guard, and was like, I've got an
2
MBA.
days.
I've got an MBA. This is how much you'll pay me. And so it was a frustration that I didn't really feel that I was fulfilling my role, fulfilling my purpose, sort of kind of me, doing what I would trained to do, using the skills that I had, or things like that. It just, particularly in a political atmosphere, you kind of get stop making stuff and doing stuff.
So you were in politics at the beginning.
Yeah, supporting politics. Don't hate me.
Someone's got to do it, I guess.
And I think kind of when I then shifted into a different role, and which gave me a lot more autonomy, and so we're able to make a number of changes very, very quickly, because I had all that pent up energy and was able to do a lot of things, make a lot of change happen. But again, kind of got to a point, it was like, well, is this who I am? I'm not sure. What do I want? So,
and I think it's we don't. I notice with you may notice it with your son, and the pressure that's put on kids to know what they want to do. What do you want to do? Like, that's a question that all adults ask children. What do you want to do when you grow up? And when I remember when I was young, what did I want to do when I grew up? I wanted to be an actress. I wanted to be a dancer or an actress when I was younger. But boys, they want to be what? They want to be pilot. What did your son want to be when he was young?
Footballer or racing car driver.
Yeah. So we put a lot of pressure on ourselves with having to have the answers at all the time. What do you want to do? What do you want to do with your life? What do you want to do with your, what type of relationship do you want? And I think until we gain experience, we don't really know what we want.
Tell me, have you noticed with your clients that kind of, especially at this time post-COVID, kind of COVID really shook a lot of people to start asking that question at a different level than they ever have before? I noticed that for sure, and particularly with a few clients who are kind of, either just turned 30 or just about to turn 30. The COVID coincided with that time of, right, well, I've done this, but is this what I want? What do I want next?
I think, everybody's really reevaluated. It's been such an incredible time to reevaluate what's important to us and what we really want. And some people know, some people have a very clear vision of what they want, or they at least know what they don't want. Because it's a lot easier to know what you don't want than what you do. So this is a really practical exercise, actually. Something that I found helped me gain clarity on what I wanted. And I've used this in my relationships, because I've had a very rocky road with relationships, and it came to the point of, oh my God, enough is enough. What's really important? What truly matters to me? And what will make me feel most fulfilled? And that, I've used similar questions, not necessarily those questions, but similar questions in my career, my business, and my relationships, and in life in general. I think that's, it's a lot of us think we know what we want. So it's we get attracted to the bling and the glitz and the glamour, don't we? And I've seen that happen with my brothers, as well as myself. Being attracted by the money and the flash car and the flash house and flash holidays and things like that. But underneath, it's what is it that you really want, and why do you want what you want?
Yeah, attracted to or seduced by.
I love that. Yeah,
but it's so true, isn't it? And then you've been in high-paying positions, I'm sure, but you feel a pressure to maintain kind of that particular way of life, even if it's not quite right. It's hard to break free from.
You literally caught up in that rat trap. The money, the high paying job, but it comes to a point, and as you said, COVID has really highlighted what really matters to you. And I think most people have come to the conclusion it's their happiness and love and connection, without being too hippie and woo woo, but it is love and connection and feeling fulfilled. We've seen, like, I think COVID has really shown us that life is too short.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So when you don't know what you want, looking at what you don't want is a really good start. It's a good way to create clarity on what you do want. So, go on.
I was going to say, in our last episode, we talked about the signals that come through in terms of your emotional signals. And you'll be picking those up a lot with things that you don't want. So, I don't want, I don't want my boss breathing down my neck every 5 minutes. I don't want,
I don't want to be stuck in commute. Not that anyone's really commuting still at the moment. I don't know what it's like in the UK. But a lot of people now work from home, don't they? And maybe for some people, that's, I don't want to be isolated.
Yeah. The reason why I'm chuckling is that I had an ex-partner who used to moan about the smell of coffee on my breath after I drank it. And it's like, so I very clearly remember going, I don't want to be in a relationship with someone who doesn't like the fact that my breath smells of coffee, having just drunk a coffee. It's like, I don't want that. So it's a very great exercise to just flip it, because you're getting those signals, you're getting the feedback all the time on it, for sure.
Yeah. I didn't want a drunk husband.
Yeah.
Or an alcoholic husband.
There you go.
Most people don't particularly go out into an alcoholic husband, but hey, some people might. But no, but it's true. It's like, okay, if you don't know what you want, literally put 2 columns. I find this really helpful. You get put in a column, 2 columns, and you write down what you don't want. So for example, I don't want a boss breathing down my neck. So what's the opposite of that? It's a boss that's not going to micromanage you and is going to allow you the freedom to get on with things, but be there to support you when you need. So that's
or even to be the boss.
Yes. Yeah. Or be the boss yourself. Or I don't want a boss at all.
Yeah.
I didn't want a boss anymore. I don't want to be told what to do. I've always been a bit of a rebel. I hate being told what to do. So yeah, it is. So what's the opposite of that? And taking it further. And then I think questioning why you don't, either questioning why you want that as well, because that gets down deep into what you really do want. Like, it's easy to say, I want lots of money. We all want lots of money. But that's quite a consensus around. But it's okay. So why do you want a lot of money? What is it what is it you believe that money is going to bring to you?
Yeah. And also kind of that, oh, hell yeah. Yeah, that's what I want, that desire. And, we've just had Christmas, and how kids write lists to Santa in many, there'll be variations, I'm sure, worldwide. But kind of when they're small, it's like, it's a very detailed, particular thing. How much joy they would get from that one thing. And as they grow older, it becomes this massive long list of things that if they had it all, we'd be like, oh, I'm bored now.
Yes. But that's a good analogy. Yeah.
It's like, what's your yes? I am a yes to this. Trying to get that energy and excitement around it desire.
Yes. And one of the things, when it really speaks to your heart, when it is a really big yes, sometimes that yes isn't so obvious as well. It's again taking notice of your body. So if you find yourself leaning forward or uplift, sitting up, it literally perks your interest, doesn't it? It's like, ooh. And if you catch that before your head gets in the way of all the reasons why you can't, because it will, because your brain wants to keep you safe and in your comfort zone. So if you catch yourself, the yes or and you just write that down and see how it feels in your body when you're writing things down of what you really want. How does that feel? Does it feel expansive to you? Does and you literally, when you're opening up your heart literally has a conversation with you. If you think on a physiological level, your heart literally has a conversation with you, and it almost opens up like that, doesn't it? When you're interested, you lean forward.
When you listen.
When you're in tune, when you listen. When you create that space that we were talking about in the last episode, when you create that peace and quiet, that's when you want to do a list like this.
And that sense of why is exciting. Exciting is not the right word, but that's really valuable. That sense of why, because you can look through the pages of a magazine and see, a desert island and go, right, I want that. Well, does that mean you want to be in that part of the world at that time of year on that particular sand, or are you looking for the peace and the relaxation that comes from that? What kind of What is it that you're really looking for?
Yeah. Yeah, when we moved to Italy, a lot of people say, "Why did you move to Italy?" And we didn't just go, "Well, let's move to Italy."
Yeah.
we actually we looked at what is it we want from life. What type of lifestyle do we want? What type of weather? What type of what's the word? Climate. That's the word. What type of climate do we want to live in? Where do we want to be? What sort of nature do we want surrounding us? Even to the point of, I want a view of the sea, and I either want to see the sunrise or the sunset. It was as specific as that. And it wasn't to do with, well, Italy sounds nice. We looked at Cornwall before we left. We looked in the UK and we're like, actually, no, Cornwall might be a bit too wet. It can get very wet, and it was wetter than we lived on the south coast. We lived near between Portsmouth and Southampton, so just up the road from you. And the weather's there is good. It's one of the best climates, and so I think with Plymouth as well, it's one of the best climates in the UK. But Cornwall's quite wet, and then you've got this seasonal crazy stuff around the summer. So maybe we don't want that, so let's look further afield. And it wasn't about the country that we were living in. It was about the type of life we wanted to live, and where could we get that type of life.
Yeah, and this is, it's a very different way of looking at what you want compared with what you could do or what you should do, which is often like that. I guess it's the difference between a push and a pull. You get that push for the particular job or for the particular car, or for you're not drawn to it, you're pulled to it. So
you say, you're seduced by it.
Yeah. As opposed to kind of really, really setting out that ambition and that goal for what you might achieve. So give us other practical examples of things you can do to get a clearer view on what you want.
One of the columns are really beneficial. Like I say, look at what you don't want, and then what's the opposite of that, and go deeper. This is something you need to spend time with. It's not just a 5-minute. You want to give yourself space. You want to be in a quiet environment where you're not going to be disturbed. And another really lovely way to do something is use nature again. So ask yourself the question: what do I really want? What's going to bring me true fulfillment and happiness, if that's what you want? And sit with that question. What is it I really want? What brings me joy? And go for a walk and get present, as we said in the previous episode. Really be present in your surroundings. Take your time and have a lovely relaxing walk. Maybe you want to go for a run, depends on what type of person you are, and see what comes to you. See what comes in that moment to you, and then when you get back, you can write it down. The other,
that's hugely powerful, and I think kind of one of the things that for me came through in the last episode when we were talking about grounding and presence is that I've always believed in the power of the unconscious and the subconscious.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you look at it in the most kind of mechanical way, you have so many inputs all of the time throughout your life. And you can't process it all. So your conscious mind kind of processes part of it and then filters, but it all gets stored within your subconscious, as it were. And so when you're going for that walk, you're actually drawing on everything. Not just the fraction of what you've experienced or the things that you've held on to. You're drawing on everything that you've experienced, and you're also, or even deeper, depending on your beliefs. But again, you're creating that space for that to come through.
Yes,
have that faith.
And as you said, talking about experience and past experiences, is look at what you've most enjoyed in your life. The type of relationship you want. So what type of person, not just relation partners, in terms of love partners, but what type of relationship do you want with others, within your work, within your family? And you can draw on past experiences in terms of, and look at when you've really enjoyed yourself.
Yeah.
You know, when you've really connected. Okay, so you've connected to that person. What was it about that person that you connected to? You know, and then you know, okay, that's the person, the sort of person that I like, someone that's broad-minded, open-minded, that comes from their heart, that has the same values that you do.
Yeah.
You know, things like that, I think, is because connection is important. It's one of the things that have come up from COVID. You know, so many people have been isolated. And some people have been fortunate enough to be in their family unit and a family unit of love. Whereas other people have been in a family unit where it's really highlighted issues in the relationship. Yeah. So that again, it's like, well, it's contrast of, well, that's what I don't want. This is what I do want. These are the reasons why I want them. How do I get there? So it's all creating clarity. Drawing on your past experiences in your career as well. What did you enjoy about that particular career? What was it that lit you up?
Yeah, definitely.
And something I found, especially with women, because they're so busy trying to keep everybody else happy, they kind of lose what keeps them happy. So how do you find out what brings you happiness? That's something that is a question that I don't even know. My clients are, you know, what makes you happy? I don't know. Making other people happy is usually the answer. But that's not, isn't it? You know, you as a mother, I'm sure you when your son's happy, you're happy.
Yeah. Yes. And also I've learned that actually is a completely different happiness when I'm happy. I'm making sure that I'm happy.
I've had quite a few clients that are mums and have realized, yes, that their child's happiness is important, but their child's happiness comes from their child, from within. You know, we hear it all the time, happiness comes from within, but a lot of people don't know what that means or how to get there. Or how to add to it.
Yeah. And so also, I was going to say, particularly for parent-child relationships, your child's happiness comes from your happiness often as well. So if you're dashing around, doing lots of different drop-offs at different clubs, or kind of working really hard to buy new toys, kind of, that isn't necessarily creating the most loving space environment for the happiness in your child. And you can kind of let go of some of those things in order to build more happiness, both for you and for your child.
Because it's true, the happier you are, the more of that energy ripples out anyway. I mean, there's been so many studies now, it's incredible, the studies that are coming to light about our energy and how that's filtered out. And I notice, and I know lots of people notice, when you go into a room that's filled with people and they've all just been laughing, you don't know what it is, but you kind of feel, oh, this is a nice energy. It's like when you're going to buy a house or you're looking at somewhere to rent.
Yep.
You walk in and you get that feeling, don't you? You get that feeling of, oh, I really like this house. Not because of what it looks like, but I've you say it, this has got a really nice feel to it. So when
partners as well, you kind of, when you meet, a relationship, sometimes things just don't feel quite right, and you can't articulate it, can't understand it sometimes either, and that's okay. Just that feeling.
So we have this energy ripple. So just even before we even communicate with anything, we've already picked up on signals. You watch dogs, there's hundreds of signals that go on between two dogs before they even, there's just this, and it's part of its energy, part of it's the way they're twitching their ears or the way they're holding their tails, or there's so many signals that we give off. So when going back to happiness, when we're happy, people pick up on that, and happiness breeds happiness, doesn't it? Yeah. Positivity breeds positivity. So you want to be the best you influence that you can be by just being you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So going back to what brings you happiness, or what you really want, just from how to lift yourself, because it's, the times that we're in right now are heavy and challenging, and there's so much, as we said before, there's so much uncertainty going on. One of the things that I think most of us want is to feel calm and happy, and I don't mean happy 100% of the time. So it's finding your happy place and finding some of the things that bring you happiness from an actual physical point of view. So one of the things, again, I suggest is just write down things write down a load of interests that could possibly perk you up a bit. Whether, blowing glass to colouring to listening to uplifting music to watching something on TV. If you want to find what makes you happy, one of the easiest things is to be really practical about it and write down a list of things you think you might like to do, or that you like to do. That could be socializing with certain friends. It could be going to the beach. It could be having a yoga class.
And also kind of giving yourself permission to hate it, or you were talking about things that you did that made you happy. Well, you also change as a person, but just try to see if it's still something that makes you happy. Be curious about it. Be curious about an experience and the impact that it has. And don't. Sometimes I think with this question, we feel like we should make it really, really big. It doesn't have to be really big. It can be really small. And if it fails, well, I don't think it actually fails. I think there's lessons in it. You learn from it. You learn from that experience, but be curious. Yeah.
Yes. Look at, you could come from a place of wonder and adventure. Look at things because we some of us can be quite scared on trying something new. What if I fail? What if I make a mistake? But again, I don't use those words, or there's no such thing as failure. It's just a stepping stone to something else, to something that might bring you more joy.
For sure.
Sure.
And I, in terms of techniques, the one that I encourage people to do is the letter from your future self. And I don't know if that's a technique you use, but just kind of imagine yourself in 3 years or 5 years' time and write a letter to you now. It's like, dear Claire,
or even 6 months.
Time.
Or even 6 months or a year from now as well. Exactly. Put yourself in that position.
These are all the great things that I've done. This is what I've seen. This is how I feel. And once you start writing, it kind of just it flows through, I find.
Yes. Yeah. And I just want to mention one thing, because this is a key part to start getting to where you want to be. And we'll talk much more on this, but gratitude and appreciation is so important. So you're here, but you want to be over here. It's to start looking at what's working for you where you are now.
Yeah.
And feeling gratitude and appreciation for the things that are find things that you feel gratitude for on a daily basis. One of the things I do every morning is think about, I do it throughout the day, but in the beginning, it was in the morning, think of 1 to 3 things that I really feel gratitude for. And I do that before I go to bed as well. Yeah. And it shifts your energy and shifts your mind into helping you get to where you want to be. And I think there's something that you were talking the other day about the scale of
scale of emotions.
Emotions, yes.
Yeah. And I find that really helpful to use with some clients when you kind of, because I don't know about you, but there are so many kind of big gurus and self-help, and for $97 I can give you this and I can give you that, and it's dressed up to be this transformation, instant transformation, and have everything that you possibly want, and then when you try to do it, you don't quite get there. So sometimes needing to take these little steps in between, if you're feeling depressed, you're not going to feel ecstatic tomorrow, at least without chemical help, but you might feel that's only short-lived. You might feel kind of, that you can reach the next small incremental step, and then the next one, and it just noticing that and then building on it can make a huge difference.
So the scale of emotions is basically what, Claire? Can you just describe what the scale of emotion is? Where where what the bottom is? Despair and desperation. Does it go despair and desperation, anger, frustration, there's guilt in there somewhere, and then feeling okay, feeling happier, and then it goes up to feeling ecstatic. I think we might have lost Claire, or we might have lost me. So just bear with us a second. I think we had a bit of a freeze there. I'm not sure what was recorded. Technical issues, they happen. Hashtag not perfect. Doesn't have to be perfect, does it? So I don't know what was caught on the recording then. So we were just talking about the scale of emotions. You were just asking me,
and kind of where you can come from. So it can come from kind of this sense of powerlessness and guilt, right the way through to hatred and jealousy and anger, worry, doubt, and kind of just really fine differences between emotions. You know that they're there when they're there, but it goes through to impatience, frustration, positivity, contentment, and kind of belief, happiness. It just keeps rising all the way up to full freedom.
Ecstasy and freedom. Yeah. Euphoria.
Yeah, absolutely.
Euphoria is a nice word. But and again, we can't all imagine if we were all euphoric all the time. That would just be great. That would just be life. It would become boring, wouldn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Somebody somewhere would create some drama.
Yeah, we need. Yeah, contrast is really important. So it's okay to be anywhere in that scale of emotion.
Yeah, and even with the sense of scales, practically, almost thinking about emotions as like a big piano, and the most beautiful music doesn't all have these high-pitched notes in them. It's got a whole range of emotion up and down, and it's so important to have each of those. That's part of being human, is experiencing that range of emotions.
Yes,
but it can be really empowering to focus on maybe one or two notes up. Kind of what does that feel like? Let's try that on. And as you say, in terms of that gratitude practice, you may be failing to spot that you were actually already there.
Yes, yeah.
It's coming through. Things are, things are in your life, in your relationships are already around that contentment, but you're not noticing them. So
yes,
it's taking that time.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually, to really notice, instead of focusing on what you don't like about where you are, focus on, because there will be things that you like, even if there's a job that you're in that you really hate. Maybe you like the fact that you get a paycheck that pays your mortgage or your rent, or pays for shopping, or enables you some freedom. It's fine. Or maybe there's a few people at work that you really like, that you have a good, a good connection with. So it's finding those points. And nature's an easy one to find, to feel gratitude and appreciation for.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Before we lose this point though, kind of when there's a really important difference when you notice, for example, with a job, when you notice the things that you like about your job, and then build out from there. You'll as opposed, rewind. Hashtag not perfect. But if you say, I want that job because it gives me that, sometimes you can go into this feeling of frustration, or that you don't have that job, or you spot that you lack that job. So you kind of start to shift into this scarcity mindset, as opposed to, I love what I've got now. I want more of that. That would be fantastic, because I've really got this here. I want to see what it's like at this next level. It's a very different outlook, I'd say.
Yes. Yeah. And that's something, that's another deep conversation to have, isn't it? About getting into and that we're talking about getting into alignment with what you truly want. But a great start is to really look at the things that you have now that you enjoy, so that you don't feel frustrated about what you haven't got. Yeah, for sure. Yes. So anything else you want to add into that, Claire?
I think just to reinforce some of the elements that you've pulled through around making this a highly personal experience, and giving yourself time. There are, as we grow, we have layers on layers on layers of other people's expectations and other people's rules. So I might be learning the rules that my grandparents had when they were bringing up their children when I'm a child. So you have all of these shoulds that kind of weigh you down. And so if you are able to step back from that and just be yourself, kind of for the true expression of who you are and what you're here to do, just spend that time looking at it, just for you, without any judgment or kind of blame. Just explore and have a play with the exercise. It doesn't have to be very heavy at all. In fact, it's probably best
to be fun.
To be heavy.
Yeah, you want it. Yeah, you want it to be fun. But again, no pressure or expectation that it has to be fun. It is whatever it is. And I think that would be a great, in the next few episodes, I think the judgment or the shoulds from other people and from society and things like that, I think that would be a good uncovering and unraveling of all of that.
Definitely. So the only thing that I would add would be a reinforcement of that, and also a this is such an important time in history. Kind of this, so it's not an indulgent activity. It's just use this time, use this space, work out what you really want, and go for it. The reason why you want it is part of your soul's journey, as it were, to do it. But you can get sidetracked too easily. So do take the time to do it and enjoy the activity and see where it goes.
Brilliant.
Thank you. Brilliant.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jen. We'll take it easy.
You too.
Let's. Well, I'm really. I am curious about these expectations and taking that conversation a bit further. So perhaps the next time we'll pick that up. But in the meantime,
definitely,
it's been great to see you.
Yes, you too. Bye.
Thank you for listening. We'd love to hear your comments and feedback. And if you've enjoyed it, please click on that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, and feel free to share. Join us for our next episode of the Exponential Potential podcast. Ignite your potential and thrive in times of great change.